NBA Finals are set, and if we could combine both teams together, who would be in your starting lineup? This and more on Good Sports. Thank you for joining us. My name is Randy Goode, and it is time to talk NBA Finals. It's finally here, so we're excited to talk about that. And if you like what you hear and see, please hit the subscribe button. We've reached some goals already thus far, but the subscribe button really does make a difference. So if you could do that, we'd greatly appreciate it. Tonight, NBA Finals is what we're talking about, and I'm joined by Cameron Harkleroad. Thank you for joining us, Cameron. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing good. Glad to finally make it behind the camera again, and usually I'm the sound guy, so I'm back behind, doing all the fun techie stuff, but I always enjoy talking stuff out, sports especially, and I know you guys see my reactions all the time, and I a lot of times wish I had a microphone to say whatever and, speak my opinion, and now I finally get to, so.
Well, it's great to have you. You do a great job because sometimes we'll be in the situation where like, what's that guy's name or whatever, and we stall long enough for you to be able to tell us, and we try to look over and you help us many times.
Yeah.
Lance Stevenson, I remember that, and a few others. So you do a great job. You're a co-producer with Andrew Goode as well, and so we appreciate everybody. Makes a big difference. So before we get into our predictions, I wanted to first talk about, imagine taking both teams. You got the Mavs, you got the Celtics, you got everybody on the roster, you're the coach. Who do you start and at what position? So we're going to start off right now with the point guard position. You're in charge. You can have whoever, wherever, as long as they're on these rosters. So what would you do? Who would be your number one and why?
So I think the obvious pick is Luka, but that's not where I'm going to go because I personally think Luka is very large for a one. I think the only reason he's put there is because the Mavericks don't have anyone else that they could put at a one. But I feel like Kyrie has just more history and more experience, and all in all, I think he's a better ball player. I think Luka is fresher, so he seems more exciting to watch and more talented than Kyrie. But I think Kyrie just kind of takes a back seat because he's on the older side and he's taking his hits for sure. But I do think Kyrie is the best pick for one, and I think he's a better ball handler. I think he's a better just court general. I think just in every category, Kyrie outscores Luka besides height. So
okay. A lot of times, most of the times in the history, when you're looking at a point guard, you look at the guy with the best handles, and that's definitely Kyrie. He's got one of the best handles of all time, so I can see what you're saying with that. I personally, so my one would be Luka. I come from a history of loving the Lakers, and back in the day with Magic Johnson, and having a tall point guard made a huge difference. Luka, I think you also want from your one, you want a distributor, somebody, and now Luka does everything. Kyrie can do everything, but Kyrie I see as more of a scorer. He's got I think 23 points a game, 4.5, 5 assists a game. Luka's up there close to a triple double, and he's getting 30 points, so he's kind of doing everything. He's so that they've kind of played him mostly at one, and he seems to make really good decisions. They had a series, I think, in the semifinals, and Luka seemed to be the one with the ball, with the decisions. He threw it out once to Washington, who made a big shot. I think it was against OKC, and he had one just against different players. So I like his decision-making. Kyrie, I like if he's going to score. So depends on what you want. But, okay, so you have Kyrie at one. I have Luka. Who of all these players do you have as your starting two?
I have Luka at my two.
Okay.
I think both of them share the ball well, and I think Luka just looks better at a shooting guard. My thing with what you were saying about how Luka just seems to distribute the ball better. I think in the Mavs, like if we were to look at the Mavs, Luka does do a better job. But I think if you were to put everyone together and just kind of make a sort of super team. I think Kyrie would do generally better. And so that's why I put Kyrie at my 1 and Luka at my 2, because I think Kyrie tends to form better, whereas Luka might struggle a little bit because he only has chemistry with his team currently.
Sure. And they do play different than
Yeah.
what's typical. So they actually play further away from the basket. And so their pick and rolls and everything are way out further because you got Luka who can shoot from the logo. You have Kyrie that can shoot everywhere. So they do things differently. Jason Kidd does things different than what's normal. So I guess if you took a new team and it was yours and you were more standard, I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So my 2 would be Kyrie. That's just what he's naturally been playing. So we're just swapping players, but it's still Mavs thus far. I just think, man, when you have a guy that can make a decision, if you have Luke out there and he can pass anywhere and they're going to create double teams, all you do is you have to dribble over, get Kyrie's man off him. And from a clutch shooter who's done things in the finals and in big games, Kyrie's about as good as you get. That's in the NBA right now that's performed. So I like Kyrie at the 2. It looks like we're on the same page thus far. Just, who's 1, who's 2. So 3, I'm curious who you have as your small forward.
I have Jason Tatum at my 3.
Okay.
I put Jason Tatum there because I don't think he's small enough to play, the 1 or the 2. He doesn't have the handles that a 1 or a 2 needs. He has the shot and he has the finishing capabilities, but I don't think he has the distributing possibilities or capabilities that you would need to be at a 1 or a 2. And I don't think he has the size necessarily for a 4 or 5. So I put him at the 3 because he's kind of in that middle range where he's a little big for a 3, but I don't think it would negatively affect him because of his athleticism. I think he would strive at a 3. I think oftentimes just in the league in general right now, the 3s and the 4s are pretty small, like compared to what they used to be. 3s and 4s used to be 6'8", 6'7", and now they're closer to 6'3", 6'5", 6'6", in that sort of range. And so they're kind of smaller and faster and quicker. And so keeping with that, just sort of how the league is right now, I think Tatum at the 3 is the best choice.
It's interesting. A lot of times you got now in the NBA, a lot of players can play multiple positions. So that's why these people move around so much. And the NBA switches. You get a Steph Curry who shoots all over the place, and now that's considered acceptable. Until Steph Curry, that was bad basketball. You're selfish and whatever, and everybody says great things. You got Tatum. He's listed as a power forward. Power forwards used to be just brute strength and your rebounding defense, and maybe you can make a 10-foot jumper. He now changes, he's kind of helped change the game at the 4. Now everybody's shooting from 3-point range. You're driving. You never used to have a 4 that could take it up the court and go all the way. So he does a lot of good things. I have Jaylen Brown at 3. He's been, I think, at times their best player. And so he's 20+ points a game. He's done a lot. I think he's also over 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he plays great defense. And so I have Jaylen Brown at 3, at my 3. So 4, who do you have at 4?
So for my 4, I have PJ Washington.
Okay.
I think PJ Washington has played tremendously in the finals, not in the finals, in the playoffs so far. In the regular season, he's done all right. He's kind of just a middle of the line, sort of decent player. I wouldn't say he's bad, but I wouldn't say he's great. He wouldn't make the All-Star team, but I think in the playoffs he's really shined through and been like a key player in the Mavs, hitting some clutch shots and playing good defense. So I think PJ Washington at my 4 is what I want.
Yeah. Well, he's solid. He can stretch the floor. He plays good defense. I think he had like 13 points a game, so he's not no slouch. You have to stay on him. You have to stay with him. And this is a lineup who you'd have at your position. So if we had top 5, just the best players, we might have a different list. But you're going position by position, and so I get that. I'm putting Tatum at 4. I think a stretch 4. I really like this team. This team's like this looks like a fun little team to play on Madden or not Madden, excuse me, PS4 or 5 or whatever it is.
On 2K, yeah.
2K. It would be a lot of fun to watch these players play with Luka, Kyrie, Tatum, and Brown, or you have Washington. So I think they could do some good things. Tatum's great. I think he's the elite. He is an interesting player in this finals. We'll have to watch what he does, but that guy, he underperformed last time. He still had decent stats, but man, if he puts it together, I think he's going to be put on a different level. So
Yeah.
I have Tatum at 4. Who do you have at 5?
I think the only answer here is Porzingis.
Okay.
I think that's really the only answer. I know Al Horford, he plays, but I just don't think that he's as good as Porzingis. Porzingis is what, 6'1" or 7'1", sorry.
Or taller, yeah.
Yeah, he's huge, you know, and he's like a
unicorn.
little worse Dirk Nowitzki. Like he has those tendencies and he plays sort of like him. And so having that on my team, and he's also great at defense. I think that would be one problem that I would see with your team so far is you only have one defender, really, that one person that plays defense. Kyrie doesn't play defense. Luka doesn't play defense. Jason Tatum rarely plays defense. Jaylen Brown, great defender, awesome defender. But so far, no one else does. And same with my team. My first 3 don't play defense. So the you know, that's going to be it's going to be a shootout essentially if these teams were to play. But yeah, I think Porzingis at the 5 is the best call there.
So I'm going to go a different route. So I would say Porzingis, no doubt about it, if he was healthy, and he is healthy.
Yeah.
So that to me is totally clear if they're all healthy. We're going into something where he hasn't played. We don't know how he's going to be doing. And so I think he'll have maybe 2 good games, and the other games, I just don't know how his body's going to do. So I'm taking that into consideration in my pick. And it's, to me, this is going to come down to, we'll talk about it in the finals. I think the 5 spot's going to be huge. If Porzingis is good, that's a good bet. I'm going with the rookie Lively. He jumps out of the gym, and I wouldn't pick him. He's not even starting. So you got him coming off the bench. But he's averaging, 9 points a game or whatever, but he's alley-oop. But when you have Luka coming down off these pick and rolls, he is bouncing like a I don't know, he's just got a quick little jump and step, and I love his game. So I've liked what I see with him. Al Horford is going to be smarter. I never have liked Al Horford's game. He's done really, really well. It's just an ugly game, and I have a hard time watching it. He's wise and got wisdom and blah, blah, blah. But anyway,
I mean, centers rarely play a pretty game.
Yes.
It's very rare to see a center that you enjoy watching.
Right.
I mean, the best example of that is Jokic. No one likes watching Jokic play. It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But he wins games and he scores points and he gets 3 MVPs it's awful. It's horrible to watch. I don't know a single person that enjoys watching a Denver Nuggets game.
Yeah.
But they win.
They win. And that's what's interesting in this league is it used to be way back, 70s, early 80s, centers were everything. Then you get some high flyers in there and you're like, okay. Yet the end of Dr. J started a little bit. Then you have Michael Jordan. You have all these people and you're like, okay, centers are kind of boring. They just stand there and they dunk it. Or Shaq made a bigger impact because not only was he dunking, he was like dunking on top of people,
breaking
and
things,
it was so he just had a different ferociousness to him that was like violent. That was kind of cool. But for the most part, centers are they're not fun to watch. Gafford and Lively, those two, I just like that combination. Porzingis, if he is healthy, Mavs are in trouble, but I just don't think he's going to be ready yet. I think if he'd have played for a few weeks, he's going to get 10, 15 minutes. And so now, maybe he'll get 20. I don't know. What do you think he'll get minute-wise?
I think it'll depend. I mean, Al Horford's going to get minutes. But I think it'll depend on the first game. Depending on how he does will determine how much he gets the rest of it, because at that point you're not necessarily playing because of who you are. You're playing to get more playing time, basically.
Right.
So he's on the clock 24/7. He's in the hot seat, like, okay, I gotta make this play or else I don't get to play, and so that adds an extra level of intensity, which for some people is really good. Some people do great under pressure and some people crumble.
Yeah.
And so I personally haven't seen Porzingis in that setting.
Not yet. No.
So we'll see how he does.
Yeah. In some ways, this is almost a perfect time because his expectations are lower than they would have been a few years ago. And so anything he does can build on something. So hopefully he has some, because if he doesn't do well, they'll just say, well, he came back early. He was a trooper trying to do that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. we're a little different on that one, but I would agree with you if they're healthy. So moving on. Now we're in the finals. We've got the Mavs, obviously, and we've got the Celtics. They're playing against each other. Who do you have winning this series and in how many games?
It's tough because both of these teams are pretty new, just in general. The players on their teams are, not many of them have been to finals at all. A lot of them don't have this type of experience being in these like heavy pressure situations. The Mavs have, Kyrie, who's won a couple rings and knows and is able to give them that sort of intel on what it's like to be in a playoff situation. But I think comparing the game that Kyrie played when he won his rings versus now is very different. Even it's just 10 years?
Yeah, since Cleveland, yeah.
So I think he may be able to help the Mavericks in a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to help them as much as they hope. And I think the Celtics just have too much raw talent, and the Mavericks, Luka's amazing. Luka's great, don't get me wrong. But I don't think he alone is enough to carry them through 6-7, games. And so I think the Mavs will win. I'll give them 3. I want to say 2, but I think they'll get 3. So I'm gonna go Boston in 7.
7, okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Boston wins it in 6.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's a bad pick. I can't do it. I just can't. As a Laker fan forever, I cannot have the Celtics. I had them getting there, and I was being very gracious, but I can't do it. So I think the deeper team is the Celtics. I think they have more experience outside of Kyrie because they have been there. Several of the players have been, at least whether they performed up to standards, but they have more playoff experience. Their defense is better. You got Drew Holiday is a good defensive player. Jaylen Brown is a good defensive player. Al Horford is older but a crafty defensive player. So I think they have, more there. But anyway, Devin White is a good defense player.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But I'm gonna go with part of it's my heart. But Luka's a stud. And I think you've got a couple good stars. You've got Jaylen Brown and you've got Tatum. You got 2 good stars there for Celtics, and you have 2 really good stars for the Mavs with Kyrie and Luka. Luka, I think the difference is going to be Luka is going to make everybody on his team elevate and play better. Now, I'm wanting this. I get that. And I'm talking myself into this because you're looking at me like you're trying to talk your way into it. And I am. But I think Luka will make everybody better. I think I actually have been impressed with Kyrie. Has played better defense than he has in the past. He's done some really good things, and I've razzed him for his defense. But I got to give him a little bit. I'm not putting him on the all defensive team, but he's played better. I see Luka working harder on that end too. I mean, it's now at the end, and so they're doing some things. But I think Luka's such a talented basketball player and so smart, and with his teammates, I think he's going to get the right people open, and I think the Celtics might get a game and they might blow them out, but I think the close ones are going to come down. You've got Tatum has not shown that he's been clutch in the postseason. Luka has. Tatum has been awesome, but in the finals, he fell a little flat last year. So I'm going to go with Luka. I'm going to go with the Mavs. I am trying to say like 6.5 games. I will go Mavs in 6 because, yeah, I just don't want to see the Celtics have a chance. I don't want the stress of a game 7. So I'm going to go, I'm going to stick with my conviction. I'm going to go with Mavs in 6. So we'll see.
My rebuttal to that is
you don't know what you're talking about?
no, I understand what you're saying, but to go back on that, we could have said that about Anthony Edwards. We could have said that about Halliburton, and neither of them are in the finals. So to say that about Luka is understandable, but I think it's going to end up the same way that it ended for the Timberwolves and for the Pacers.
Okay.
And you say that Luka has more clutch capabilities and Kyrie has more clutch capabilities. The only problem with clutch capabilities is they only come into play if the games are close. And I don't think the games are going to be as close as you hope.
Well, I'm hoping their defense, Celtics defense, isn't as good as it appears to be.
Yeah, a buzzer beater 3 doesn't help you when you're down 20. I
totally get it. So I started looking at this, and I was doing my best to try to look at this, and I was saying, okay, point guard for point guard. I'm looking at mine is Luka. So I say, okay, Mavs have that by far. Okay, then I'm looking at the 2, and I'm seeing Kyrie has an edge in that spot. Okay, although there's some really good defense, but I think Kyrie is the edge. 3, I have Brown. I have them having the edge there. Okay, and then I have Tatum at 4. So it's coming down to the center position, which is what we're talked about with this other segment. So I'm looking, and I just don't think Porzingis can make it. That's what I'm going by. And so the 5, I think Gafford and Lively are going to be better than Horford and Porzingis. That's what I'm banking it on. So that's where I'm coming down to, and I think it's going to happen. I think Tatum, if Tatum struggles in big moments, I think it'll be in his head because he's here all year, really good in the playoffs, in the finals. You crumble. And if that happens at all, now if he does well right off the bat, it'll change that. But if he just crumbles, which is what I think could happen, then I think it'll be with him, and then Brown's going to have to do it. And Brown can. Good team.
I just want to say the Celtics have a lot of momentum. They have lost a total of 3 games in the playoffs.
But they played against teams that were injured. They were very fortunate each time they played. They've had the fortune, but they've also they had the best regular season. I mean, they're a good team. I'm not going to doubt that.
I think the Celtics have too much momentum for Luka to be able to stop.
Yeah,
I think they'll get 2 or 3 games. I think it'll be close, but I can't see a possibility of the Mavericks winning unless someone gets injured. Jrue Holiday, incredible defender. I think he will do some serious damage to Luka. I don't think Luka's productivity will be nearly what it has been because of Jrue Holiday. Well, Celtics just have defense up and down the board.
They're going to have to do some, I think, pick and rolls that involve Tatum because Brown plays good defense. If you do pick and rolls and you have White and you have Drew, I mean, you got your 1, 2, and 3 that are all good defensive players. And so Porzingis, they might expose him maybe on the defensive end, getting him out. And if he's not totally healthy and not ready, Jason Kidd's done a great job. So I'm going to go with it, which I know might seem a little crazy because I did have the Mavs losing last series. So
I love that your
I'm going for
hatred for the Celtics
it is.
Puts you in Delulu land, like just way out in nowhere.
No. Have you ever heard of speaking it into existence?
That's manifesting. You're manifesting.
Yes, I have never ever rooted for the Celtics to win a finals ever, and that will never ever happen. So If they're down 3-0, the
Mm-hmm.
Mavs, and Luka is hurt, and Kyrie is hurt, I'm going to pray for a miracle.
Can I ask you a hypothetical?
Yeah, go ahead.
What would you have done if Kobe Bryant got traded to the Celtics?
What would I have done? What would I have felt towards Kobe?
Just in general, how would you have felt?
Kobe's done. I'm done with Kobe.
Really?
I found out a long time ago, thanks to a great Seinfeld episode. I root for jerseys. I root for laundry. I'm a laundry fan. I really like the players, and
Except LeBron.
That's a real
Except LeBron.
LeBron changed a lot for me. LeBrick really did change that. That's true. So that's a different story.
So
and
if Larry Bird was on the Lakers, you wouldn't root for him?
For Larry, I don't know. You had some good questions because Larry. So as a kid, and this is just the real deal, I hated Larry Bird. Now I've grown to respect him now, and I actually enjoy him now that he's done playing because Magic has accepted him. I was able to accept him. I needed some help. I would watch as a kid when they would play in the Boston Garden, and I would look, and there was all these fans cheering, and it made no sense to me. Like, it made no sense that people could actually cheer for them. Anyway, it made no sense. I had a friend that was a huge Celtics fan, just like I was a Laker fan, and played sports with him, and liked him, but did not like this part of him. And we would argue. And one time we had a baseball game, and I didn't even go out onto the field when we were supposed to because we were arguing in the dugout, and we got in trouble. Anyway, but we went back and forth. When we were in junior high, he starts coming to our school, and he hated the Lakers. He starts bringing autographs from Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he's like, I'm like, no, what is going on here? And that really ticked me off. And he was like proud of it. His sister starts dating Michael Thompson, who is the number 1 pick in the 78 draft for the Blazers, is now playing for the Lakers, right? And he is getting autographs from my heroes. And I was so jealous, and I was so frustrated. And he became a Laker fan. And I was just like, I like you. I won't mention his name right now. He's a good guy, but I just couldn't accept him as a Laker fan. And years later, I was working at a radio station, sports radio station, and Michael Thompson, lo and behold, is somebody that I'm working under, helping kind of behind the scenes. And I asked Michael Thompson, because my friend's sister marries Michael Thompson. And by the way, they have a child named Klay Thompson. And, anyway, so I have jealousy all through my life. And so I asked Michael, I said, how did you get him to switch? Because he hated the Lakers. And he said, oh, it was easy. I just took him to the forum and I said, hey, person, I won't mention his name. He said, I'd like you to meet Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and James Worthy. And he said his mouth dropped and he became a Laker fan. And I was so mad. So
I don't think that would have happened to you if you got to meet Larry Bird in person.
I don't think so.
Really?
I think maybe, but my bitterness was pretty significant towards the Celtics to the point it's 2024 and I am rooting against them significantly. So, but maybe if
you don't like Shaq, right?
No, I like Shaq, but Shaq played when he was like 84 years old.
Still played? And still wore the jersey?
Well, did he turn around once, snapped his Achilles, and then quit?
You saw him, he got paid.
So
he was on the payroll.
Okay, here's one. I got Rick Fox was the Celtics. He was drafted by the Celtics, played with the Celtics, came over to the Lakers. I just gave him 1-year ban of rooting for him, but then he came over and he converted, and so he made a conversion, so I accepted him in. But mostly I root for the jersey. I do. If Kobe would have left, I would have and gone to the Celtics in his prime. My relationship with Kobe would not have been the same mentally. So Kobe wouldn't have done that.
So he say he leaves and then he comes back.
Who?
Kobe. because I know Kobe Bryant
Listen,
is.
This is like a therapy session right now.
I'm
Yeah.
curious. I want to know like what is the limit because I'm curious why just the hatred is so deep.
Okay, so the hatred is so deep because when the Lakers played the Celtics, we lost our first one when we played them, and I believe it was 84. We had already won 2 championships, and we played. The Lakers had the stinking game, and this is great. I've needed this therapy. So we had 2 things happen. James Worthy, who is, I believe, a rookie at the time, gets the ball at the end of the game, and all we have to do is basically get up the floor. They win the game. We're up 2, and he throws a soft little pass. Celtics steal it, make a layup. They go on to win that game. Later in the series, Magic had a bad pass. It was the only time where they actually called him Tragic Johnson because he blew it in the finals, and they were waiting for the last shot. He waited too long, then he passed it, and then the clock went off. And as a kid, I wanted to beat them so bad. So bad. There was nothing to compete with. There was no cable back then. This was everything to me.
Yeah.
Everything. And so I'm watching and I was devastated. And then I watched those guys celebrate like they were better, and we just gave it to them. That's the way I felt. They were good, but we gave it to them. We came back and won it, and then we beat them again. So we did beat, Magic beat Bird in college, and then 2 out of 3 times they played. I still only think of 84 when they lost and the bitterness. My greatest moment was when the Lakers beat the Celtics in the Celtics, Boston Garden. That was a great moment. Game 4 of the 86 playoffs where Magic makes a hook. Anyway, I don't like the Celtics. There's just no doubt about it. I root for Jersey mostly. And that's where I'm at. And so I have become, as of a few days ago, a huge Luka fan. I've liked Kyrie. I like some of the things that Kyrie, some of what he stood for. He's a little unique or whatever, but he has stood for his convictions, and I actually do respect that.
Yeah.
As long as I think they're somewhat in line with things that I can at least understand. Some of them are a little goofy. I'd like to see him do well. Jason Tatum. The other problem is the Lakers should have taken Jason Tatum, and but no, we were lured in by who was it? One of the Lonzo. We were lured in by Lonzo, and we could have taken Tatum. Swing and a miss there, and that's what's funny. If Tatum would have been on the Lakers, I'd be a huge Tatum fan, but he. We didn't take him. Wasn't his fault, but he was obviously a much better player. I think he was taken 4th.
Something like that. I think it's interesting. You say you root for jerseys, but in actuality you root against one specific jersey.
Oh, I am. Well, I'm the biggest supporter of my.
Yes, okay. But when it comes down to it, when you really boil it down, you're just a hater of one specific jersey.
There is one jersey that I do.
It doesn't really matter who's on the other side.
Yeah,
as long as that one jersey
a
loses.
Good question. Would you rather have them crash and burn or have your team win?
Yeah.
Boy,
yeah,
you might have something there because, there is some great things to watch when some people that you dislike. When I'd watched Larry Bird, I heard Larry Bird say this a while back. He said he left the Forum and he was heading out to the parking lot, and he saw Magic Johnson over by his car, and he was kind of with his head down, and he said he looked at Magic and he said, "Suffer, baby, suffer." and you got to understand, the league's not the same now. Back then, Kevin McHale absolutely clotheslined Kurt Rambis, goes down, they throw fists, and they're just separate 2 shots. You might call it technical here and there. I mean, they were slugfest.
Yeah.
Larry Bird was in multiple fist fights, and this was very, very common until the bad boys kind of went a little, darker in the way they did things, and they tried to clean things up. But so not only would you watch your team play against each other, but they would literally try to hurt each other, and they truly hated each other.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, they're all friends, and if they lose, they say, "Hey, why don't you join me on my team next year, and let's go on a banana boat and excursion." And so it's all different. So anyway, but that's the thing, and so this is all why I come to the conclusion: Mavs in 6.
Sticking with it.
You don't make me go 5. So
I wish I had your level of delusion.
no,
I wish I did.
Mavs in 3. I wish that could happen, but anyway. But listen, you have to admit, I'm gonna get you. Luka is the best player in this, right? You would, if you were to take one player, you would not take Tatum over Luka.
At this point in time, this specific moment, yes. But I think over career-wise, I think Tatum is first ballot Hall of Fame already.
Okay.
I think Luka will probably be there, but I think Tatum's above him.
So Tatum's averaging 4.9 assists, 8 rebounds, 27 points. Great stats. Luka, 31 points, 9.5 rebounds, and over 8 assists. In the playoffs, 34 points, 33.9, 9.2 rebounds. He's almost averaging a triple-double with 34 points. So I would say right now Luka is playing the best. Kyrie's not played as good as I would maybe think. He's had moments.
He's older.
He's had his moments. But I think those two are better than the other two. Jaylen Brown's pretty good. The 5, I'm telling you, it's coming down to the 5. Lively. Porzingis is going to be hobbling.
You're banking on some rookies that don't start.
No, I'm not banking on them to lead.
But you're banking on them to be better than veterans.
But Porzingis,
not necessarily Porzingis, but Horford. I think Horford will play great.
Horford needs a walker to get up and down the court.
He knows the Celtics.
How old is he? Like 53. He's like,
I think he's like 34.
Okay.
I don't think he's that old. He's not as old as you are.
Listen, no, that's true. That's true. But he's been old for a while in my mind. And so Horford, you got Horford, and then you got an injured player coming in for him. Like I said,
how old is Kyrie?
Not Horford.
No, I mean Kyrie's.
Horford's like his great uncle.
32.
Kyrie's, he's
up there.
Yeah, but he also took a season off with COVID. He just said, I'm not going to play.
Still, that doesn't stop aging. He's still old.
But Al Horford's got him by multiple years. I bet he's 5 years older than him.
I guarantee you Al Horford is like 34. I guarantee you he is a lot younger.
Well, here's what I would do. I would fact check you, but you're not there to fact check yourself right now.
I am not there to fact check myself.
Anyway, Horford has been a solid, and he's Horford's a borderline Hall of Famer with his stats for his career. I don't think he will be.
I don't think he'll make it.
Well, if you look at where he stands, rebounds overall, points overall, and if he gets a ring or two, then he could get in. He's never been the best player, but he's been solid. I think he was with Atlanta for years. He's been a really good player for a long time.
Yeah.
But he's wearing the wrong jersey. So that settles that.
That's true.
And so now, again, if Porzingis is good, the Mavs are screwed.
I think the Mavs are screwed either way.
They might be. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll come back and talk about it. And if there's a sweep going on, then somebody's going to have something to say. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see how the finals goes. Thanks.